Good afternoon and welcome to ATN Society Watch. This is a program where we ventilate societal issues, give them aggregate attention with a view to preferring solutions that will benefit humanity. Let's go through the headlines. Crime. Archbishop detained over currency abuse. Tragedy, 4 electrocuted at chieftaincy celebration. Banditry, 45 abducted residents regained freedom. And insecurity, soldiers ambushed on rescue mission. We are open for sponsorship of this program, jingles and advert placement, news and events coverage, personality, society and political interviews, product service promotion, and commercials. Watch us live on www.atlanticnetwork.tv. We're also on Apple TV channel 205, Limex TV platform, Ifastech platform, Apple TV, Ninja TV, and Iroko TV. Connect with us on all our ATN socials. Subscribe, like, and share. Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network. Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1. You can find us on X on Atlantic TV Net. We're going on a break. When we get back, I'll introduce my guests and we'll dive right into the discuss. Please stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching Society Watch on Atlantic Television Network. And joining me, to discuss all of the issues previously mentioned is Scholar Wale Adedire. He's a public affairs analyst. We're so glad to have you join us.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let's go right into the discourse. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has arrested a female archbishop in Warri, Delta State, after alleged naira mutilation and suspected money laundering. The arrest followed the viral video showing her congregation spraying naira notes on a live cow during a church event. Investigators say the cleric, identified as Archbishop Angel Oyege, was taken into custody after operatives traced the incident to her ministry. The act is considered a violation of currency regulations under the CBN Act. According to officials, several individuals seen participating in the spraying are now being tracked. The agency says more suspects and arrests are expected as part of its effort to curb currency abuse. The FCC noted that the suspect has provided useful statements to investigators. Her case file is being prepared for prosecution once ongoing inquiries are completed. Authorities reiterated their warning against defacing or mishandling the national currency, saying enforcement will remain active across the country. Mr. Kola, what are your thoughts on this report?
I mean, this report has a mixture of different angles to look at. Given the legal legal, fulfill of the right, but given the lack of respect for the regulations, and we are fond of doing that such things in our society. In as much as some might say, oh, it doesn't, the law or the regulation doesn't hold some people, or it does not hold some people at all, that the fact remains that the FCC has been cracking down on mutilation of the naira notes of currencies. So I still wonder why people still go ahead and do these things, take such a risk, and go ahead as few minutes, hoping probably not because, or probably they feel it's ignorance, or they feel don't go that far. But I mean, it's just another scapegoat for others to see. And there's the angle of religion and the morality of such acts, because this was done during service. So it begs the question: what's the moral idea behind that? What was the intention of all of that? You spraying money on cow in the church. I mean, when things like this come up, just goes to show how far some of our religious leaders and institutions are failed to really be of example. Not that I'm trying to preach, but I mean the whole logic of Christianity, the word Christianity itself is being Christ-like. So I feel like most times, in as much as I said on the show, bishops, pastors, reverends, they are all humans. So I'm not completely surprised when things like this happen, because humans make mistakes. But I feel like when you have or you hold such a position, you have to be much more conscious of the things you say, the things you do, because you are standing on a different level of authority, giving, even if some people might say, oh, it's abstract and whatnot, but you're in that position, you should behave as such. So, but before you do such things, you should ask yourself, Christianity in itself is Christ-like. What would Christ have done? There are many instances, would rather feed people or help the needy. You'll be surprised in that church, for example, there might be people who cannot afford to even eat after the service. So, different angles to look at, but the fact remains that the FCC has caught up to the Archbishop, and I mean the tune is being played, and definitely she has to dance to it. I think it's a woman. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a woman.
It's a woman, but
right.
Yeah, she has to dance to it. Sadly.
Absolutely. And now, you talked about being Christ-like. You've referenced, what Christ would do. Do you think that, as a people, given how religious the entire African ethnic group is, because we have, you know, a blend of everything here. We have some people that are active, you know, spiritualists, or spiritual worshippers, or traditionalists, as you choose to call them. We have the, you know, climb for, you know, the Muslims over here also. And we also have lots of Christians. Now, given how spiritualism is a thing within the, you know, the African continent, do you think that we are living through the tenets, or by the tenets of the books that guide these religions we practice? Right. For what I'm trying to say is, when people step into a church, and imagine you're a first timer in this particular ministry, and you're sitting down somewhere and a cow is being sprayed. Is that what Jesus would have done? What is the significance of that when you look at this report?
I mean, that's just what I highlighted with earlier. Like I said, I'm not trying to preach and all that, but the morality of it, people, logically, for me, I mean, the way people think about things, you know, are different. The way I would think about something might be different from the way you would think about it, you know, depending on the level of literacy, level of what's this word? You know, the level of how
Exposed, right? Exposure.
Yeah, the exposure, the family you grew up in, and all of that. But the fact remains that when you become a religious leader like this, you are supposed to abide by the rules of Christ. Which, like I said earlier, I feel like the easiest way to understand this thing is understand how we live this life, and the things you would do and what you would not do. And you know, obviously, spirituality, like you mentioned, is very important in religions, not just Christianity,
right,
know, across the world and all of that. But at the end of the day, I feel like the physical, the reality, you know, the way you live your life is an extension of your spirituality, me to say. Because, I mean, just like you said, if someone comes to the church right now or goes to a mosque, the way people react to that person, the way people welcome that person, the actions, what they do is what is saying, right? Spirituality is a thing, I'm going to say it's abstract, it is important, but the way you live your life as a person, both, you know, religiously and otherwise, is what attracts others to you. The aura you give off is what attracts others to you. Sorry. The things you do, the things you say. So when you say things and do things that are contrary to your religion, then it just goes to show that, you know, things are not straightforward, right? I mean, someone like me would not sit in such a congregation the moment I see such an act going on this wood. Even if I stay, I would definitely not go back to such a congregation, because it's just against my morals, it's just against I wouldn't be able to place it on an accused scale for myself. So it's also an eye opener to other people out there. There are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands and millions of churches that are being led astray, sadly, by funny tenets, funny actions. And at the end of the day, we fail to realize the importance of, you know, speaking for Christianity now, we fail to realize the importance of Christianity in itself. It's not about just the pleasurable things or just the financial aspects, or I feel like it's more about your way of life. I think that is what should be even preached more, you know, about living your life right. I mean, we are not perfect. Those are the things that you talk about, but we should try to, you know, do the right thing, especially when we know our conscience tells us these things. I mean, I've digressed a bit, but the fact remains that these are things that religious leaders should not be doing. And I mean, I hope this opens their eyes and structures their minds to doing the right things, you know, sitting and acting as they should in these positions we find themselves in.
Thank you so much for your insight on that report. Panic erupted in the Idimu area of Alimosho, Lagos, after 3 party guests and a truck motorboy were electrocuted during its chieftaincy celebration. The motorboy died instantly while the other victims were rushed to the hospital. The incident occurred on Adjorin Street, where canopies had been mounted for a week-long coronation celebration. A truck attempting to drive through the street was obstructed by one of the canopies blocking the road. Witnesses said some guests and a truck occupant tried to leave the canopy to create passage for the vehicle. During the process, the metal frame reportedly touched an exposed wire lying on the ground. Eyewitnesses described how the victims collapsed immediately after the electric shock. The party ended abruptly as guests fled the scene in confusion and fear. Residents said the motorboy was confirmed dead on arrival at a nearby hospital, while the 3 injured guests are receiving treatment. The deceased family later retrieved his body for burial. Local police said the incident was not formally reported at the station, and efforts to obtain further clarification from authorities are still ongoing. We have talked about, on the show, I think we previously talked about the high tension. I remember that day you made reference to how the high tension can simply be described as low tension. And we talked about why, as a system, we haven't been able to adapt, process where we put these pipes on the ground to save people from electrocution when a little girl, stepped on a live wire. What are your thoughts on this report? People left their houses to come for a party and a coronation, and there was an electrocution. And even though the guests are receiving treatment, the motorboy is currently dead. Let's talk about it.
Nigeria is an interesting, it's a beautiful place, but we find ways to, I should phrase this better. Nigeria is a great place, but we fail at doing the right things most times. And this affects both. I'm speaking to both leaders, organizations, bodies that have been put in place, and we as a people as well. Many levels of 0 points, decimals of wrong things that we do that accumulate to big issues in the end. Now, I am sure there are bodies that have been put in place to ensure that, like I said the last time, like you rightly mentioned, even if we are not incorporating underground wiring, at least let us ensure that the poles are quite tall, far from where we are operating as civilians, and these poles are not falling off the road. At least let us have that. So first, I don't know why we have I'm not sure how low or high the pole was. And secondly, these people that drive these trucks, they know the right things to do, but I mean, I've seen these things happen in real time as well. Right? It was really not funny. Like a truck was trying to move along a minor road, and it was, I've forgotten what it was carrying, but literally, like, even the truck drivers, the truck personnel have this particular, some of them, if not most of them, have this particular wooden stick that they keep with their trucks all the time, literally. So what I'm trying to say, they know that they are going to get to areas where the truck is literally too high to pass underneath these wires. So they keep these poles so they can push up wires and pass underneath. So you can't tell me we are not aware of these things. But like I always said, we just live as if everybody's living by chance, everybody's trying to just live basically. And as much as it's a good thing, survivability and all of that, we have to still be able to take responsibility for ourselves and actions. Things that are wrong, we should not find ourselves doing it. Now, aside from that, road safety is part of their job to also ensure that some trucks are not on the road mostly. I can say, okay, they might not have eyes on minor roads and all of that. But in more organized societies, you find that before you enter areas, before you take the diversion into some location, you will see signs that tell you, oh, this place you have to move at this particular speed.
Oh,
this area, the height of car that can pass this area. Do you understand? But
right.
we do not have these things going on. So you find out that these trucks go into areas where the wires, like I said, that's already a failure on its own. The poles are not high enough.
Mm.
Then these people have to pull up these poles and pass. So then there are those that are involved in also requesting for services that brings in these trucks, which are still people like us. You know that, for example, you stay in an area where you know the poles are not good, right? The poles are not so high. Then you request for trucks. I'm not saying we should not go around, with our day and all that, but at least make some sort of provision. Ask some questions. Let them know ahead of time. Oh, I don't think the truck can pass this place. So what can we do? I'm sure there are other options that could have been done.
Right.
Then there's the aspect of open events. In as much as
Right.
I am sure, I'm aware that a few states, I think Lagos most especially, have been cracking down on open events in most
So why was
locations.
this allowed?
But
Because the bulk of this incident simply happened because there was an open event. Over here in River State, you find out that, okay, you're about to go to the market, for example, and it's a Friday, and on your way out, you find out that the only route that can take you easily to where you're headed is completely blocked, and there is no thought for people and commuters and citizens on how they are going to pass. And these people are equally taxpayers. Why is this allowed? Why is this, open event happening when we have event centers all over the city?
I mean, I'm aware it's a thing. It has been a thing in this part of the world, but recently, I'm aware some states. I'm not sure the number of states. I'm aware some states, including Lagos, has been, has placed bans on such events. But the funny thing about human beings, you will find a way to go against rules and regulations, which is exactly what happens here. I mean, just like you rightly said, the event centers, they are much more separated cases people can use that are not on the road side. Worst case scenario, you might say, oh, I don't have so much to rent an event center. Okay, why not find a fenced space or a space that is not on the road? Then do your events, within laws, so you don't make so much noise. Because there's, aside from the road blockage, there's also sound pollution and disturbance and all of that.
Right.
But you still find out that some people still go against this group, just like this situation. And not to point fingers or anything, but in quotes, it's a cheap, fancy thing. So who knows? Maybe it was it's a thing of I'm a chief in this society. I should be able to use this thing. This part of the world we live in. Everybody wants to flex some sort of privileges of ours at some point, and sadly, this happened. And it's just a chance people have there want to have events. I mean, yeah, before I forget, there's also the part of safety. Some of us do not take environmental safety seriously. Aside from the fact that we have organizations that do these things do not do their jobs well, in as much as this was not like it's not like it's a workspace entirely. People should also be careful before you set up or mount your things. Why don't you look around? You know, for wirings that are closed, you don't have to see an open high tension to know that it's dangerous. Even if it's closed, so long as it's an high tension, I don't know why the canopy would be under high tension. I don't know why someone would park his or her vehicle under high tension. I don't know why someone would want to cross the road and stay under, the high tension wires. Nobody plans for these things. It doesn't tell you when it wants to happen. So you prevent these things by staying clear from locations that seem to be prone to hazard. And I feel like if we all check all these boxes, sad things like this would not happen in our societies.
Thank you so much. You talked about people standing on the high tension wire areas. how, people need to stand under the high tension. People now stand under the high tension. People should be wary of, standing there waiting for transportation. Sometimes people park their cars under this area. Sometimes, people are just usually underneath the high tension. Now, I want to ask you, do you think people are well abreast as regards the danger that can happen with that, especially given that few months ago, I think it's about a month or two, this guy that does this whole car reviews, well, his name is not coming to me just now. He does a lot of car reviews online, talks about Ola of Lagos. His shop was brought down by the agency that is in charge of, this particular kind of problem for building his showroom just underneath the high tension wire. Now, if someone like Ola of Lagos, that is, must have used a good surveyor of some sort, a good engineer, and saw that property and bought it for a brand like his, do you think that the woman that sells in the market bothers a lot about the high tension she's sitting under to sell her wares? Do you think the little children coming back from school are well informed that standing under the high tension might be risky for you in case something happens? Do you think that we're doing enough as regards information dissemination to let people know that standing or being anywhere around the high tension poses a risk? Do you think people are aware?
Checking question answer, people are aware, and that is because electrocution is not a new word, it's not a new phenomenon that will say, oh, someone living as far as someone in the village knows what it means for electric to shock someone. At some point in life, I would say, I compare that I'll say at least 60% of humans on this earth have experienced, electric shock. It could be, when I say electric shock, I'm not saying a full-blown electric shock. It could be from, small currents. That small, when something shocks you, that, oh, it's like it's in the shocking. Right. It could be from a small charger, or your phone, or your laptop. At some point, you have experienced that feeling. And we all know that it's not a good thing if it's on a large scale. And when I say large scale, look at large devices, complex of direct high tension wire. Like I said earlier, I feel like Nigerians are just very positive and free-minded people that feel, some people have been crossing on the side of the road that is high tension for decades and the high tension has not dropped, right? So why would you drop today? You understand that kind of thing. So people just live life, like I always say, by chance, because when you do this thing, you're living by chance. Because, a lot of people also know, I'm sure Nigerians are very quick to feign ignorance or just feign these things. I understand that sometimes some people are left with little to no option. What if you're on that side of the road is like the only road you can cross through and all of that? There are situations like that. But if there are ways for you to prevent putting yourself in such 50-50 situations, choose not to put yourself in such situations. That's just my point.
Right.
Yeah. Not because doing such a thing. It's just typical Nigerian behavior. When you know something is wrong, but you just do it because you feel you can get away with it. And some people do get away with these things. Some do not. Just like the tragedy that happens. Some people get away with it, some do not.
Right.
Right now, as we speak, I'm sure if there is a camera pushing every location in Nigeria, someone somewhere is doing an open party under a wire. So that's just the way Nigerians live. For decades, that's always been like this. But that's the mentality we need to change. We can still keep talking about these things like we are discussing right now. These things are not safe. When you see a wire drop, somewhere. You could be walking on the road now and you see a wire on the ground. It's best you move to the other side or move far from it, rather than think, oh, I don't think there's current in this wire. Let me just jump across and let me just move, close to it. And that's how these things happen. Right. So prevention is better than cure. That's
absolutely.
Yeah, basically.
Thank you so much for your insight on that report. 45 people kidnapped in Bakori local government area of Christina State have been released following renewed peace negotiations under the Operation Safe Corridor initiative. The freed victims include men and women from Guga and neighboring settlements. They were released on Monday after talks involving a bandit leader identified as Isia Kwashengawa. The group regained freedom around 2 p.m. and was received by the lawmaker representing Bakori constituency in the State Assembly. The victims were immediately taken to the Comprehensive Health Center in Bakori, where medical teams assessed their conditions after days in captivity. Health workers conducted physical evaluations to ensure none required urgent treatment. Officials say the victims have since reunited with their families, bringing relief to the affected communities. The release has been described as a step towards easing tensions in the area. Security agencies and community leaders are maintaining close monitoring in the affected villages. Authorities say the goal is to consolidate ongoing peace efforts and prevent further attacks or abductions. Nigeria has, had a fair share of situations in this week. For starters, I want to refresh your memory that we did have a brigadier general that was, killed in the line of duty, Uba. May his soul find peace. And we had the case in Kwara State where, girls were kidnapped from the government boarding school in Kebbi, pardon me, please, where girls were kidnapped from their boarding school, where they are boarders in that school. They were kidnapped, and there is currently no news of that. And we had renewed, violence again in Kwara State, where a church was invaded. 2 people were shot dead. The pastor and several members were equally kidnapped. Even an actress did come out yesterday to talk about how 2 of her family members are in the arms of the bandits. Now, when you look at the circumstances prevalent in Nigeria at this time, how sensitive these matters are, do you think that indeed these actions of negotiating with terrorists to release some set of people that have been kidnapped is the right way to go? Do you think this would go far at all in bridging the gap and making us more freer citizens in Nigeria?
This news is sad news, and this week has been such a long week with situations such as this. I feel like our leaders are not taking this situation as serious as they should. I've been saying it, I'm sure most of the guests have been saying the same thing since the year started right up to this moment that we are. Sometimes they will come up and say we are on top of the situation, we are winning the war against terrorism and banditry. But look at the headlines. If you open the newspaper today, you see sad news about kidnaps, about killings, about banditry, left, right, and center. And it just feels to me that these things are taking with levity. Just like I said last time on the show briefly, at how we are not even making strides to take new actions against these bandits. Instead, we are giving them power. How giving them power? Having peace talks with them. And if you look at the report, it said you literally mentioned the name of the leader of the bandits, and they have different looking for the right word to use. You can say different leaders for different operations. I mean, they have like their own camps and all of that. And in quote, our security officials know these things. Some state governments know these things, but for some reason, it just feels like, I don't know how else to explain it from where I sit. It just feels like they know where these people are, they know who these people are, but they cannot do anything about it.
Why?
And annoying part, that's the question that I'm unable to answer, because that's why I said it's been taken with levity. I don't even know if levity is the correct word, or if we are sabotaging ourselves at this point. Because I see no reason why the full force of the Nigerian military is not falling on such people, right? I understand that at some stage when people are kidnapped in those situations, you have to tread carefully so people would not lose their lives and all of that. But after these people gain freedom, what happens? Do you even go after these bandits? I believe, when things are left unchecked, it gets worse. These banditry things started off like a small thing. But with the way it is now, it's almost as if they are literally almost every state in northern Nigeria and already extending towards the west, given the situation with Kwara. Although I'm not sure if that was a bandit situation, but I mean, there was a kidnap as well of people, but just going about their religious activity to think such a thing would happen. But now, if we start to bring out the books and play back things like this that have happened, and what happens afterwards, you will see that we live in a society where human lives are no longer considered precious, at least by the government. Some years back, I remember there was a shooting in a church, I think it was Ogun or that, I can't remember. People died. Till today, nobody has been held accountable.
But the people for the Owo shooting are currently in court, and prosecution is going on. They are currently in court, and that is currently sitting. But I want to reference you to something you said as regards, people in government knowing, thought leaders like Gumi have come out to say these are their soldiers, these are their fighters in the forest. A sitting governor did come out to say, oh, we know these people. They live amongst us, right? Why do you think everybody is complacent in letting these people thrive the way they have thrived over time? Especially because no one is safe. Why do you think this has, been left unattended till it has gotten this bad?
I am going to be honest with you 100%. I do not understand why. I do not understand why. Just like I've said, they know where these people are. The governor literally said that these people are fathers, brothers, they live with us and all of that. But why can't they be held accountable? Right? Why can't they be held accountable for their actions? Or are these criminal actions? Are we not going to compare? I don't even want to use the word compare, but people that are being kidnapped, the trauma that comes with it, people that are being killed, are they not also civilians? Are they not also human beings that justice is supposed to speak for? Then the part of Sheikh for me is just it just blows my mind away, in the sense that such a person is still allowed is still allowed in a civilian space, in the sense that he goes around making such statements in favor of kidnappers, in favor of insurgents, in favor of bandits. But you never find him make statements about people that have died when these bandits and insurgents carry out their acts. He comes up and says, oh, these people are our brothers, oh, they are fighting because they do not have jobs, or they are our sons and they are our fathers and brothers. What about the people that have been killed? So what is the DSS? Whatever secret service we have in Nigeria, because I don't even know which one I want to call at this point in time. Why are they not bringing such a person to question? At this point, does it not feel like the national interest, the sovereignty of Nigeria is being battled with? It's being in danger. Because from what I see, it feels like that, right? Because they are beginning to lose control over most regions in our country. But it just feels like it's just the civilians, it's just the people that are seeing it. Why is our president not backing down on states such as this? I always bring up this instance, just for a light sake on this topic. When there was this whole drama, where you sat in Port Harcourt, it wasn't even up to a week state of emergency was called up, and the governor was dropped off his office and all of that. Such a swift and precise action from the president. But we have states that have been salvaged by bandits over and over and over again. Benue State, Jos, many states in the northern region. But our president literally does nothing. Comes out and releases some statements about how, oh, it's sad about this. The Senate president came up the other day, said he was crying, politicizing the whole situation about how the APC party is the party that really cares for them. Afterwards, he said things about there has to be crime in the society. it breaks my heart to see that our leaders do not even feel that, I mean, I don't know what other words to use because I don't want to use the wrong words. Do not feel that lives of human beings are precious any longer. People are dying on every daily basis. We are not making any progress in reducing this issue of banditry and insurgency. You know, people like Sheikh Gumi, governors of these states are not even supposed to still be on seats because it basically means you cannot take charge of the states you are supposed to govern. You know, just this morning I was looking at the report. The Benue State governor is making a statement that there's no Christian genocide going on in Nigeria. Fine, if that is his stand, but as the governor of the state, what have you done? As the governor of the state, where have you been? What have you been saying on these situations? You know, the sad part is most of them don't even say things any longer. You know, back in the days when it wasn't so bad, when things like this happened, during the days of Obasanjo, Jonathan,
Right.
you would see, you know, the media, sometimes they even go to those locations themselves, you know. But nowadays, governors don't even go to these places anymore. Some of this news don't even make it to the media anymore. I did told you about something that happened in Kogi State recently, and I still got a new message from someone that resides in Kogi State that there was also a kidnapping and there were killings in Kogi State just 2 days ago, I think. And these things are going on every single day.
Right.
Extending into the main. It started from northern parts. Now it's getting into the west, north central. I'm sure maybe our president feels safe, or maybe he feels people are hyping these situations. But you are not supposed to joke with the lives of human beings.
But why would he think that? Because an army general has just died.
I'm not sure what to think of.
Well, let's quickly take on the last report so we can wrap up the show. Several Nigerian soldiers have been wounded after terrorists ambushed a team deployed to rescue schoolgirls kidnapped in Kebbi State. The attack came a day after the army chief ordered intensified operations to recover the students. The troops had been mobilized under Operation Fansanyama following directives for round-the-clock action against the kidnappers. Commanders were instructed to act swiftly on intelligence and maintain relentless pressure until the girls were found. As the soldiers advanced towards the suspected hideout, a terrorist launched a surprise attack, leaving multiple personnel injured. Their vehicle was severely damaged, with bullet holes marking the intensity of the encounter. Video footage circulating from the scene shows troops lying on the ground, awaiting medical attention. One wounded soldier was heard saying a colleague had a bullet lodged in his leg and was in critical condition. The ambush was raised concerns about the safety of both the abducted students and the troops engaged in the rescue operation. The army has vowed to sustain the mission until all victims are safely reunited with their families. The same way the Brigadier General went into, a routine check. Now we have soldiers equally in the field. And most of these situations are now out in open space. They're usually now, you can get them everywhere on social media. For the case of the General Uba, the video of him kneeling down is on there. The live execution of the man is online. We have the soldiers laying on the floor, saying someone has a bullet lodged in his legs. And all of these evidences, when you tell me with the last report that maybe they are not aware, looking at this, do you think they're still not aware, especially when these reports are in public space?
The point of being aware is the point that action is taken after being aware of the situations. But the reason why I use such a statement is because actions have not been taken, right? People have been losing their lives. Sadly, in general, it's a very sad situation. But not to use anybody as point or anything, but maybe it should be taken seriously now. But look at the situation, like you said, such a sad and scary news for the military to be ambushed bandits, which brings us back to the recent, I mean, the last report and this report are basically insecurity. And the fact that we are giving power, our leaders are giving power to the bandits. At this point, it's supposed to be a full-blown war between Nigeria and these bandits because they are now a threat to the national interest and national security of the nation. But for some reason, back to issues like people like Sheikh Gumi and governors that are not forthcoming with responses. I don't understand why you keep someone safe. It's almost as if you're for example, I'm living in this house, and I know that my son is probably a criminal. Just an example, by the way, and I do not speak out. It obviously means I'm a criminal as well. If you understand where I'm coming from. I mean, under the law, it means I'm a criminal because I literally, kept this person and kept this ship and all of that. Why are they not treated as such when it comes to situations like why are governors not placed on a scale? Why is Sheikh Gumi still speaking, still allowed to speak, still even given screen time by some people? When I think about these things, it's such a scary thing because I was watching on social media the other day and I remember that some if not a year or years back, some insurgents where they came out and said, oh, they wanted amnesty and all of that, and they were giving, they were trained and all that, and some were taken into the military, and some were, probably let to go along with their life. I mean, just a social media thing. I don't have facts. But some people are saying most of them were sent into the military, and that begs the question: why would that even happen? Because this obviously is an internal, sabotage. But how did they know the route that is taken by the soldiers? How did they know when and where to track them and overwhelm them? So at this point, if our leaders, if the chief security, I've forgotten that a full presidential title
Chief of Defense Staff.
President, what?
Chief Security Officer or Chief of Defense Staff?
The Chief Security of Defense Staff, the president himself,
right,
supposed to take this more seriously. I mean, I heard it's no longer traveling, but the moment I heard he was supposed to travel yesterday, I was like, we are in the deepest form of. But we thank God. Hopefully, he's going to quit all this traveling and focus on. I know the president cannot do these things himself. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say he should put on the vest and top guns and all of that. But the people he put in position to ensure that our interests are safe, the civilians' lives and interests are safe.
Right.
Make them to question those that are not doing their jobs well, they definitely don't deserve to be there. I understand the times are different, but as a defense minister, as a police IG, you find yourself in such situations. You are supposed to take the right measures to ensure that the security and safety of lives and properties. But now the fire is now literally on the army. Hopefully the army service chiefs and other service chiefs will take this a lot more seriously because when we are heading to is really scary if the army can be ambushed by bandits. I mean, people thought they were little, but like I said earlier, they are no longer little anymore. The weapons they have, the numbers they have. Hopefully, we won't see these people as our brothers anymore because I don't know where brothers and fathers will be killing fellow human beings. We still term them as though they are our brothers, they are our. Makes no sense to me.
Thank you so much for your insight on that report. So much more to say, but this is where we wrap it up on this episode of Atlantic Society Watch. Thank you, Kolawole Adejire, for coming on the show and giving us good insights. We're open for sponsorship of this program, jingles and advert placement, news and events coverage, personality, society and political interviews, product service promotion, and commercials. Watch us live on www.atlanticnetwork.tv. We're also on Avo TV channel 205, Limex TV platform, Ifestech platform, Apple TV, Niger TV, and Uroko TV. Connect with us on all our ATN socials. Subscribe, like, and share. Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1. You can find us on X on Atlantic TV Net. Remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Otaria Benjamin. Stay with us. Up next is International Tidbits.